His hideous form.
We support Patrick Beja for co-host of Tuesday's Daily Tech News Show.
Yay!
Was that your Bernie Sanders or
Bernie Sanders? That was my generic convention guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
If he was Bernie Sanders, your finger would need to be a little more crooked with age, and you would have to have a
more
hunched
like Larry
back.
David. Yeah.
Larry David does like an uncanny impression.
They're
of
the
Bernie
same
Sanders.
person.
You think so?
After Bernie Sanders spoke yesterday, somebody on Twitter wrote under this fake Bernie Sanders Twitter account, and now I return to my meal.
Uncanny, very. If there was an appropriate use of the word, uncanny would be it.
The uncanny valley between Larry David and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, VR is supposed to conquer that next. If it does, but you have
Hey,
to keep...
Strike It Rich in the chat room. Don't think I don't see you. Don't think I don't watch you making fun of the way I say really. Which, by the way, I don't understand. It's really. It's perfectly American.
The way
really.
you say it just then was not exceptional, but sometimes your E gets a little French.
Really?
I was born. Hey, I'm gonna play. Don't freak out, live viewers or video viewers. Okay, that's working. We're almost ready to go. I just want to make sure all the pieces are in place.
All the Pisces are in place.
All the fish are where they should be. Too late. Another J. Martin is freaking out. It was too late.
Was that Bernie Sanders?
That was closer to Bernie Sanders, wasn't it?
Okay.
He's going to have his own TV show, I guarantee you, after this election or something.
I'd watch it.
It's the Bernie Sanders Show.
Actually, I used to watch The Apprentice.
Yeah,
Wait,
right.
Isn't that the Trump thing? Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I used to watch The Apprentice. It was fun.
Yeah,
I watched a season or two.
All right, ladies and gents, are we ready to do a show?
I was born ready.
That's what I want to hear. Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, July 26, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Patrick Beja, host of many fine podcasts, including the Phileas Club, which I was on just this morning.
And I am exhausted after those 90-plus minutes.
To me drone on and on.
Well, we can talk about it at the end of the show, but it was fun and interesting.
No, it was interesting. It was political in nature. It was about the election.
It was,
but we got technology news.
And it was political, and we didn't yell at each other. Truly.
Really?
Yeah.
That was amazing. We've got lots of stuff to talk about, including a leak from Eurogamer about what the Nintendo NX will look like. Guess what? It's going to be mobile, but also stationary. We'll explain that in a moment. Also, Apple's going to be the exclusive host of 16 episodes of Carpool Karaoke, apparently not hosted by James Corden. Vizio is selling itself to China's LeEcho for $2 billion. Its viewer data business, Inscape, will spin off into a separately privately owned company. AMD has a new graphics card called the Radeon Pro SSG with 2 PCIe 3.0 M2 slots so that you can add a terabyte of NAND flash memory to the graphics card so it can work on large data sets locally. And Tesla is going to stop using Mobileye. Mobileye says it's because they need to manage their reputation. So no more Mobileye in the Tesla autopilot system going forward. And we haven't even got into the top stories yet. One of those days, man. Microsoft announced several updates to Office, incorporating the cloud and AI. Microsoft Word users can access Bing's Knowledge Graph to find info to cite and take advantage of Editor, which is using machine learning to suggest edits beyond just spelling and grammar. Outlook's focused inbox is coming to desktop and web apps. It was available previously for iOS and Android. PowerPoint presentations don't need to be linear anymore. You can build them like a website and have a home slide, for instance. And those updates are coming this month. If you're one of those insiders, you can get a look at it earlier.
I'm wondering what those edits beyond spelling and grammar are. Are they gonna? Is it suddenly going to start suggesting stylistic differences, or maybe?
No, exactly.
You know what? Maybe you're not making your point well enough in this paragraph. Be a little bit more mellow, or get out of my email office.
Yeah,
I know what I want to say.
It will say, like, if you write in the majority of cases, editor will suggest just say in most cases. That's tighter. It's using machine learning to do that, to tighten up your writing, which, as someone who does a lot of writing, I do a lot of novels and stuff for fun, and I do a lot of editing, I would very much appreciate this.
I remember a time when people used to write their own articles and their own novels and their own presentations. Nowadays, it's all done by computers, and they all look the same because the computer. Okay, I'm not believable, am I? I try.
You don't even believe your old man rant. Yeah, they're going to do more spell check stuff too, where they tell you why they're suggesting a change, so you can actually learn how to spell things and learn the grammar check. I find these ideas fantastic. I don't look at them as punitive. I don't look at them as dumbing me down. I don't look at them as even required. I may decide, you know what, I'm not going to go with that suggestion, even though I understand why it's making it, because it's a stylistic choice by me. But I love having it catch things where I've accidentally just wrote a really awkward construction and can tighten that up. That's what a good editor does.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll still have to see how it works in practice. The idea is enticing, but certainly, even if it doesn't work great now, with time it will improve. So that's an interesting way to go, to use machine learning yet again in ways that to make our computers, our software, more intelligent.
Assist us. Not replace us.
Yet. Amazon announced Monday that it is partnering with the UK Civil Aviation Authority, the CAA, to expand their drone testing. Amazon will test beyond line-of-sight operations outside of urban environments, having one operator monitoring multiple autonomous drones and avoidance systems. All of these tests will be conducted below 400 feet with full CAA involvement. Amazon's current drones are less than 55 pounds, travel over 50 miles per hour, and can operate beyond line of sight.
So this is just more good news, right? This is more testing being done. It's interesting that they're doing it in the UK, though.
It's that's the kind of thing where you go. A lot of the countries are being very careful, very I don't want to say afraid, but maybe a little bit too restrictive on these kinds of things. And you can feel that when one actor embraces it, we don't know how well it's going to work, but if it does work, that actor will have a significant advantage in in research time and understanding the mechanics of this new technology. So I'm wondering if this move by the UK specifically isn't going to encourage other countries to maybe make it easier for at least testing these kinds of things in a controlled environment.
Yeah, and I wonder too if places like Australia, places like the UK that are being very friendly about the testing will therefore gain the advantage of being one of the first places to see these sorts of systems roll out.
Well, that would make sense, of course. Yeah. There's also the argument that let them let them test it, and then we get the taste of it when it's safe and secure.
Google rolled out an update to Nexus and Android One devices to help block spam calls. If you have your caller ID enabled, and pretty curious if any of you don't have caller ID enabled on your phone, suspicious calls will come up marked in red with the label suspected spam caller. From there, users can confirm that the number should be blocked or report it to a whitelist if they think Google tagged it improperly. Like, that's my mom, that's not spam. Users can also go back into their call log to designate spam numbers that happened previously that may be not getting flagged. Steve Dennett at Gadget notes that the Samsung Galaxy S7 has had similar features since it launched in partnership with White Pages. Google also began updating Android with emergency location service, so it'll send Wi-Fi, cellular, and GPS data about your location to the emergency system operator when you make a 999 call. EE, BT, 3, Vodafone, and O2 are all on board at launch. It's available in the UK and Estonia, and Google said they're working with more countries and operators for the future.
I think Apple announced something similar for the new version of iOS, didn't they? I think they might have. It's not out yet, obviously, but this is something that wherever it is going to make my life a lot easier, because the level of spam calling has become incredibly annoying in France. I don't know if it's as bad. I'm guessing it. I think I heard it's even worse in the U.S., but in France it's become really bad in the last year or two only, and I can't believe that there's not a solution to counter it. So now apparently there is starting to be. Oh, I'm very excited about this.
I've had my same cellular number since 1999, maybe 2000, and it's only in the past year that I've really started to notice tons of spam numbers calling. I think what's happening is robocalls, marketing calls are starting to get better at finding cell phone numbers, which were a little harder to dig up in the past, and also the fact that I didn't always use my cell phone as my own phone number, and now I do. I think that makes a difference as well. So having anti-junk call, robocall functions on my phone is a great thing. Absolutely love the idea that you can control and turn on emergency location service for your emergency calls. I think that's essential.
The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, the next two special publications are now available for public preview on GitHub and include suggested recommendations on two-factor authentication. SMS messages for one-time codes will only be allowed on verified phone numbers, not VoIP or other software-based numbers, and the practice is deprecated, and will not be allowed at all in future releases.
Yeah, so they're basically saying we get that it's really easy to spoof numbers, and sending a second factor by text message, while terribly convenient, isn't really safe. So we're going to give a grace period to real phone numbers because we think that the chances of spoofing are lower there, but we've decided to really encourage people to use authenticators, RSA keys, YubiKeys, things like that.
Yeah, it's. I'm wondering. On one hand, I'm think it's a positive thing that we worry about it, and probably indeed, since spoofing is easier for VoIP, then that should warrant being more careful with them. On the other hand, I really want VoIP numbers because they're so much more practical, and this sort of they can decouple us from the ISPs from the mobile operators, which I would love to be more independent from. So this is mixed feelings, but I understand the necessity of it.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're saying we're just not going to support a standard around SMS second factor in the future, because we also understand that software-based phones are going to be more common in the future, and it really isn't fair to say, well, old-fashioned numbers will work when they can still be spoofed and have a prejudice against the growing segment of phone numbers here. So what they're saying basically is let's not kid ourselves. Let's do this in two stages so that companies have a chance to ramp it down. But let's start by saying the least secure of these, which is the software-based phone calling, is not going to be supported. We're going to deprecate this to give you a chance to get off of it. But yeah, I much prefer an authenticator. If I'm ever given a choice for login, I always take an authenticator or a key over an SMS second factor. To me, that SMS second factor I almost treat as two steps, not two factor. It's a subtle difference there, but it basically is saying, well, this isn't entirely secure, but at least it's a speed bump.
Yeah, as you should.
Two Xbox One S bundles are up for pre-order, shipping August 23rd. The Madden NFL 17 option has a terabyte of storage, 7 Madden Ultimate Team Pro Packs, and 1 month of EA access, all for $349 in the U.S. and Canada. The Halo Collection bundle comes in 500 gig or 1 terabyte models, has 5 games available in the U.S., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand for $299. That is the second of the bundles coming August 23rd. Don't forget that the main Xbox One S with 2 terabytes is coming on August 2nd. In an upcoming update to their service agreement, Microsoft will begin regular purges of inactive Xbox gamer tags. Under the new agreement, any Xbox account that doesn't have a login for more than 5 years will be assumed to be inactive. I think that's fair. And Microsoft will close the account. Microsoft previously freed up more than 1 million gamer tags in May from accounts that had never migrated from the original Xbox that has been mostly unused for more than a decade now. The change in the service agreement goes into effect September 15th. So if you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I do have an account that I want to keep and I just accidentally haven't logged in for 5 years, you have until September 15th to go log in.
I thought they would, maybe I misread it, but I thought the tag would be freed up, but the account remained. You just have to choose a new tag if you log in again. Yeah. Right. So, your account is not deleted all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah. I assume that the account will stick around, although why, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you never know. You know, even after 5 years, you might want to come back to an Xbox, and you would like to keep all of your achievements and all of those, your trophies.
Well, I wonder how much of that stays, or if that goes with the gamer tag, right?
No, it wouldn't.
What defines an
everything
account?
will stay. Sure.
Sure. Stay. Okay. You know this. You know this for sure.
Am convinced that it stays, and if it doesn't, you can quote me as the person having misled you.
Yeah, and also, I was just going to say the underlying message here is if you do have an account that's 5 years old, log in before September 15th if you care about it.
And the thing is, though, this is a real problem that we didn't really think about initially, but the gamer tags, when you have dozens of millions of people choosing different gamer tags, at some point all the ones you want are taken, and you really can't find. It's kind of like a Twitter account. I'm wondering maybe if Twitter shouldn't follow something similar to free up the names for someone who hasn't logged in for 5 years. That could be useful.
Yahoo did it with usernames, and it did cause a few problems here and there, but mostly it just freed things up. So yeah, it can be done.
So the thing with Yahoo, I believe it was linked to the emails, wasn't it? And the problem was some people were receiving emails which are arguably more important than gamer tags. Even if you get a message from someone who thinks you're someone else, yes, it could lead to problems. But for email, I think it's very likely that it will lead to problems. So that's actually a different
gamer tag is also your Hotmail address.
Well,
no, I'm just making
that doesn't work like that. And yes, for the Xbox One S, it's definitely an interesting device and puzzling for many of us because as we remember, the Xbox One Project Scorpio is going to be available, is going to launch in 2017 in probably holiday season, about a year away, and that one is going to be a lot more powerful, and we don't know how much it's going to cost. So in the gaming community, the question is, well, kind of who would want an Xbox One S? But I think the answer is maybe people who aren't hardcore gamers like us, because the Xbox One regular was still selling, not as well as Microsoft hoped, but it was selling, so this is just a replacement for that one. It's a little bit better, it does 4K, and it's smaller, anyway, it's just a replacement model, and I'm sure that some people will go buy it. It's just for us who are gaming enthusiasts, it's a little bit of a puzzler.
Well, is it though? Or is it like, hey, I don't want to wait until an unnamed date to get the Scorpio. I want an Xbox One S now, and I'm a huge Madden fan. So I will pay the $349, and then when Scorpio comes out, maybe I'll buy that too. Could be the hardest core of gamers.
It could be. I think the hardest core of gamers already Xbox One. But if you're, the thing is, the thinking goes, if you are aware of this, you probably want to wait for the Scorpio, probably, maybe not. But if you're not aware of it, you buy it now, and a year from now, the better, cooler model comes out, and you're like, oh man, I just bought this one.
I don't buy the idea that it's people who aren't aware of the Scorpio who buy the Xbox One S. I think there's plenty of people who are like, you know what, it's just not important to me. I may never get the Scorpio. I don't want to wait. I'm a huge fan of Halo. I'm just going to get this now. It's good enough for me.
You know what, Tom? As usual, you're probably right.
maybe.
And next up, French startup Blade promises you won't have to buy a PC ever again. How, you ask? As for most things these days, the answer lies in the amazing properties of the cloud. The service is still in alpha, but if you have a fast enough internet connection, a fiber connection is required, you can subscribe to a reliable, customizable, and upgrade, quote, PC rental, unquote, which you can access over the internet. The rental is hosted on servers in the company's data centers, behaves like a regular PC, and its video is streamed with 16 millisecond lag to the client. The journalists who have been trying the service went from skeptical to optimistic. Has the time of the thin client finally come?
I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see. So I have lots of questions about this, and Patrick did a good job of trying to find as many answers as are available yet. We don't have a ton of details about it. But yes, Gaikai on was it on now?
On live.
On live. On Live tried to do this.
Now is currently working.
Yeah, and On Live tried to do it for PCs. They tried to do it for like, hey, here's a PC. It runs Microsoft Office. You can access it in the cloud. There have been other companies out there try to stream you a PC over the internet, and to date, none of them have worked. But this one, definitely 16 milliseconds of lag isn't perfect, but it's low enough that it might be equivalent to a really old PC that you have, or even a little bit better. Apparently, you are required to have a fiber connection for this to work. And and this is what I was trying to figure out is when they say fiber, do they just mean you really need a fast connection? And Patrick, you were saying no. It looks like they have partnerships with fiber providers, which implies that maybe there's some peering going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they have big connections, maybe peering with the main ISPs in France. So they're basically guaranteeing that if you have a fiber from those ISPs and they have a direct plug to the ISP's network, then the connection is very, very fast. The 16 millisecond lag can work in those conditions. And the advantage of this thing is that it's really just a PC. You have, you can install Windows on it, you can install the software you want, it doesn't come prepackaged. It's your PC, except it can be very powerful. You can upgrade it whenever you want. You can downgrade it if you don't need the power for a month. You're going on vacation and you want, a faster PC. You can have a very, a 1080 GTX 1080 NVIDIA card in it, and you're going to rent it, so you're always going to have the top of the line, quote unquote, PC. Now, to be clear, I'm not convinced that it's going to work, but I'm wondering, the last question I asked jokingly is genuine. Wouldn't a few people at least, be interested in the idea of not having to buy a PC and replace it every few years, but to always have a top-of-the-line machine rented for a reasonable price, like we have a mobile, a cell phone subscription and internet subscription, and 16 milliseconds, if it does work, and it could, then it's really just like having a PC at home, almost.
We have lots of grumpy people in our chat room because they're all like, this won't work for gaming, this won't work for video editing, this won't work for modeling meteorological phenomena. Like, yes,
so
actually, lots of things this might not work for at 16 millisecond lag for you. But the majority of what people use PCs for probably would work under that.
I think the majority of things would work. 16 milliseconds is, people who complain about it are giant hipsters or
or they need a specialty PC anyway, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you need, like, if you have something that genuinely requires less than 16 millisecond lag, I understand it could, and you know, you need a guaranteed very low lag, etc., etc. But in the demo, they tried Overwatch, which is a very popular first-person shooter game currently, and the journalists, who are people I trust from a trusted publication, who are players and who play that game specifically, said that it was indeed very convincing. So
this is Numerama. Is that
Numerama,
the publication?
yeah, exactly. And I honestly believe that at some point this is going to be possible. Maybe the time is not now yet, but at some point.
And then it becomes a matter of the same old cloud question, which is, do you trust the company? Do you want your data in the cloud? Do you want to have to keep paying on an ongoing basis to access your data? Except now it's not about just the data, it's about the entire computer. But really, what is your computer but data and software? All this is doing is moving software into the cloud.
Yeah, if you're using Windows, newsflash, your entire data set of private information is already in Microsoft's Office. I'm kidding. I'm just fear-mongering. We don't know. Maybe.
All right. We have a couple of earnings reports of note happening as we record today. Twitter reported 13 cents a share profit on revenue of $602 million for the quarter. That is lower than expected. Twitter did add 3 million new monthly active users, though, last quarter, bringing their total to 313 million. That is not a huge number, but at least it's adding. Also, Twitter says it's targeting $590 to $610 million in revenue next quarter, so they're looking at a big, at least hopefully an uptick, although it could go down according to that estimate. Analysts were estimating the next quarter would be $678 million, so not a good prognosis for Twitter, not a good earnings report. On the other hand, what was expected to be a somewhat unexceptional earnings report from Apple has turned into be really good news. For Apple stockholders, that is. Apple reported revenue of $42.4 billion and earnings of $1.42 per share. Analysts had expected $1.38 a share on revenue of $42.09 billion, and after-hours trading, Apple stock is up. TechCrunch notes that the amount is down the same quarter from last year, $49.6 billion on earnings of $1.85 per share. So it's not all good news, but it is better than expected.
Yeah, and basically the prospects on Apple's revenue has been kind of down in the past couple of months because the iPhone 6 did really, really well, and the Apple Watch, some people had hoped it would be better performing than it is performing apparently. So yeah, I mean, to me, 300 million above the expectation doesn't seem like a big deal. 300 million, peanuts.
Yeah. All right, thanks to all those who participate in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. If you want to submit stories, that's great. You don't have to, though. It's actually really easy to just go in and say, what did Magoo JC post? What did another Jay Martin and Steve I.O. and Jason Phil and Dave Mikado and Running Mag, what did they submit, and do I like it or not? Upvote it or downvote it. Subreddit is dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. That's our top stories. Let's get into our main story. Eurogamer reporting that sources tell it the Nintendo NX will be a high-powered portable device running on a successor to NVIDIA's Tegra X1 mobile chip and have its own built-in display with 2 detachable controller sections. So the controllers in this source's description fit to the sides of the screen but can be removed, and that's essential because apparently there would also be a dock that you would connect to your TV. You could put the touch screen, the display, in the dock and then take those controllers and play it like a normal set-top box game console. And best of all, Patrick, it's going to use cartridges. They'll still do downloads and still do online games, but they're going to have cartridges, not discs.
That is the best news I've heard in, well, actually, this is really interesting because it seems counterintuitive that a mobile device would use cartridges, that,
yeah, what
the thing. Obviously, it can't use a CD. I mean, the PlayStation, PSP, PlayStation Portable used that weird mini, I can't even remember the name, format. It's just so power consuming. It is not practical. So cartridge, oh my God, I'm really tired, as I said at the beginning of the show. They make sense. And you don't want to go download only because, first of all, some people don't have really fast connections, and the other thing is having a presence in stores, I think, is really important. It does give you real estate, and it puts you in front of people's eyes when they go shopping, because stores still matter, even if it's not a big majority of the market. So the cartridges make sense. I think some people will think they don't, but they really do.
Is it a cartridge or is it an SD card under a different name? I mean, it's fun to think of it as a cartridge, but it's really just a memory card. This is my guess.
Right. I guess it's
Otherwise,
physical
it wouldn't
media.
make any sense. Yeah,
it's physical media is the point. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if blowing in them will help you. That's what I'm trying to say.
They haven't helped since the days of the NES. I guess the other thing to take away from this is it's not surprising either that Nintendo is playing to the strength of mobile gaming. Phones, for all their glory, have not really replaced the gaming device of choice in the hearts of actual core gamers. I'm not even talking about hardcore gamers, but core gamers still enjoy having a dedicated gaming device, and the only one on the block right now is the Nintendo 3DS. So, I mean, the PlayStation Vita sort of is on life support, but the 3DS is doing a lot better. So that is also not surprising, the fact that they would make this a strong player in that field.
Yeah, it's a logical step in a lot of ways, and in fact, a step back towards what the Nintendo Wii did. I think what they're looking at is, yes, people like mobile, but we're Nintendo. We're not going to phone. We're not going to even have an Android phone. Eurogamer sources say this is Nintendo's own OS. It's not just running an Android tablet. But we are going to look at the success of the Nintendo 3DS. We're going to look at that crazy form factor that we had with the Wii U, and we're going to pull the best out of that and make a mobile set-top game. And the one thing about the Wii U that I wanted to be able to do was just take that silly tablet and go play with it. And that is essentially what Eurogamer is describing here, which is, hey, instead of having a silly tablet that doesn't quite make sense in a sit-down situation, what if that silly tablet was also your game machine when you went portable, and then you just docked it when you were ready to play, and you play with a controller the way you normally do. Yes, it's not going to have the top power of a Project Scorpio Xbox, but we never care about that with Nintendo. What we care about are the intellectual property, the Marios, the Zeldas, and the fact that we can have fun with it. And maybe that's what's going to be the key here is we've got motion controllers, we've got a Wii-like experience when you sit down in your living room, but you can take it with you in the car, and isn't that cool?
So that's the ideal result. That's the ideal situation. There are a number of questions, though. We all agree that Nintendo doesn't try to compete on graphics and on CPU and GPU power. However, I understand the Tegra line is super powerful for a mobile device, and
Sure.
I'm certain that as a mobile device, it will be great. It will be top of the line. How does it fare on a TV, though? The graphics were, a problem on the Wii. They were a problem on the Wii U, even though they were a little bit better looking. But I have a hard time imagining that a mobile GPU, CPU integrated.
What's in the NVIDIA Shield?
Sure, but the NVIDIA Shield's real powerful graphics are actually streamed, and the games that play on the Shield itself are usually, lesser demanding games.
It's
and
just
again, that's
a
why
partnership between Blade, the French startup, and Nintendo. No, I'm just kidding.
But no, it's on a mobile device, it will be great. How well will it fare on the big screen? And Nintendo has said we will do top of the line performance from now on, because it was a problem. It's not just a problem because the graphics aren't good looking. It's also a problem because if you want support from third-party developers, you also want to try to have a system that is easy to port to, and this doesn't seem like it would be. And the other thing is
porting mobile games, which would be an odd tactic.
It would be strange, yeah.
I mean, Nintendo could port Pokemon Go to this, I suppose, if you were able to have, the GPS. We don't know about that part of this supposed device. But would you want Clash Royale on the Nintendo NX? I don't know.
Why not? I mean, the thing is, for those types of experiences, everyone already has a phone. So they're not going to be looking to... They could be there, for sure, but people are not going to be looking to get that system for those games. What you want is core gaming experiences that are... To this point, we haven't found a way to make them possible on mobile. The other thing that I am a little bit concerned about is if the interface is designed for mobile, a small screen, and it has to be much smaller than the Wii U controller, if it's designed for a small screen, how good will it look, the UI, on a big screen? It would need to be aware that it's on the big screen and rework the UI. Maybe it can do that. Maybe it can even, once you plug it into the dock, overcharge the Tegra processor and have better graphics to support the bigger screen.
Or maybe there's a graphics processor in the dock.
That is also something very clever that I didn't think about, but will claim I have in future references to this conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it could work. I mean, it could also be that you have a portable version of this, and you also have a dedicated home version of it. There are still many questions, but this is sort of confirming a lot of the rumors that have been flying around for 18 months or so, and it seems like an elegant solution to an impossible problem. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and that's the thing right now. I mean, you could start trashing this idea, but we don't know what all the details are about it. And looking at it as a sketch, I'm intrigued. I'd like to see how it works too. I get that. And Nintendo is not saying anything. The Eurogamer sources say we might get an announcement in September, but Nintendo is just still saying March 2017 is when you'll get this. We don't know when they actually plan to announce it for sure.
They did mention they would announce it in 2016, which is drawing to an end.
That's true. You will get it. You'll get an announcement before the end of December. so the September announcement date seems plausible, but Nintendo's not confirming it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Let's get to our pick of the day from Matt in sunny Hove, actually, UK. In a recent podcast, Tom expressed a wish for a sub-$100 smartwatch. I saw this post while browsing Engadget. It's the Mobvoi TicWatch for $99. It's being kickstarted, the TicWatch 2. He says it's only sub-$100 on Kickstarter, but the review is positive and it looks quite usable. So you might want to check that out. We'll have the TicWatch 2 hands-on from Engadget in our show notes at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can read what Sherilyn Lau has to say about it. TicWatch and Mobvoi are a Chinese company that helped bring Android watches to China. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Let's finish it off with our good friend. I hope we can call you our good friend, Kimberly. Kimberly, the Texas teacher, writes in again. She always writes in with great stuff regarding our discussion of Pepper the robot yesterday. She says, Veronica asked why have a voice input if you already have a touchscreen? Accessibility would be my answer. Most obvious would be having both the touchscreen and the voice interface to accommodate both the visually impaired and the hearing impaired customer. But touch input would be good for those with speech difficulties. Maybe you just have a heavy accent. Maybe you have a speech impediment. For visual displays, I would love for there to be some control by the user. My family has both dyslexic and colorblind people. Sometimes one or the other can't read a display on a public screen because of the cute color or font choices. Recently, my cousins were at a tourist spot, and their 6-year-old had to tell them the words that were flashing on a screen giving directions about where to go to get tickets because the husband is colorblind and the wife is dyslexic, and the words look like abstract art or a screwed up screen to them. And finally, voice input would be good for those with mobility or fine motor skill difficulties. I have problems with some touchscreens myself, she says, because I have a skin disorder that makes my skin dry and brittle, and this means sometimes the screen doesn't pick up my touch, or I can't feel how hard I'm supposed to press. I also have contact allergies to peanuts, and that means I have to be careful touching surfaces in public, because she doesn't want to take a trip to the emergency room if somebody with peanuts on their fingers were touching the screen beforehand. So all good points about accessibility and why you want to have multiple input methods.
Yeah, they're all good points. I don't think that's what Veronica was getting at yesterday. But yeah, it's all of these are true.
And all she was saying is, if I can talk to it, why do I have to have a touchscreen?
And actually, I kind of disagree with Veronica on this, as in most things. Why not have a touch screen also?
And that's where
is what I
Kimberly
would
comes
add.
in and goes, well, let me give you some good reasons to have both.
That is true.
And everyone is the smarter for it. In fact, everyone is the smarter for the Phileas Club as well as your other podcast, right, Patrick?
Well, thank you. I wouldn't say that myself, but I would gladly.
But you'll
receive
gladly
the
let me say it for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sure. I mean, the Phileas Club, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, is a podcast where I get people from different countries, different cultures together every month to discuss things that have been happening in the past month. And this episode we recorded today was a very special one because we discussed the U.S. election and tried to make an inventory or explaining what's been happening to people who maybe haven't been following it very closely, like people who aren't in the U.S., and maybe even some people who are in the U.S. and aren't exactly quite sure what is happening. And we really tried to take a completely dispassionate approach to this. We had people who were from different sensibilities politically. And it was a really interesting exercise. It was, in some ways, trying for me to try and be very reasonable and collected.
Because I was on the show. I understand.
I usually let my fanboy out when you come on my show. But we did, and I think we did something that is way too difficult to find in general in media and conversations today. And we also explored the ideas behind voting and convincing people and discussing. And again, this is something that is way too rare in the debates about politics today. And I really want to show people that it is possible, and that it can be constructive, and that it can be a positive discussion, even if you disagree with the people you're talking to. So anyway, if you want to experience that, it was a fun, great discussion for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's available at FrenchSpin.com.
Go check it out. Thank you all for supporting the show. If you're willing to help us out with even just $1 a month, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. And if you want a few perks for your support, we've got a few at patreon.com/DTNS. We have a second episode now, or second series called Daily Tech Headlines. If you just need to catch up on the headlines of the day in less than 10 minutes, head to dailytechheadlines.com. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Phone number is 593-2459. That's 512-59-DAILY. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Going to talk about tech and parenting tomorrow with Scott Johnson and Megan Maroney. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was a tight show. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I think we should
work. You think we should what?
I think we should call the show Cartridges.
Call it what?
Call the title Cartridges, because I couldn't say.
I hate it when sometimes once you say a word wrong once, it just becomes impossible to say it again.
When Roger dropped off, the quality improved massively.
He's dragging us down.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay. I heard that part.
Damn it.
Sneaky. Yeah. So anyway.
So we're going to call it Cartridges. I liked Nintendo blows the dust off game cartridges, actually.
I don't understand the heat for the cartridge bit. I mean, it's just going to be it's just going to be like a SD card in like a funky form.
That's what I said.
Of course. Yeah. I would like it to be like an actual little cartridge, though.
Right. Everybody, that's the nostalgia idea.
We didn't mention the 32 gigs. That's a little bit limiting, too.
Well, yeah. We'll see.
For modern games.
Too, but yeah, that is if that ends up being true, that is.
It depends. I mean, if you cut out.
Maybe not for those types of graphics and smaller screen. But.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe that's also the specs for the portable version, and there's more in the dock. I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility.
Well, no, sorry.
Oh no, I don't think 32 gigs is all that small.
It's for the games, the cartridge, right? It would be 32 gigs.
32 gig storage.
Right.
I mean, if you figure a standard.
Oh.
I see what you're saying, Patrick, though.
Oh, you mean 32 gigs of onboard storage for the thing,
Right.
for the device. Well, that can be expanded. I thought it was a limited size of 32 gigs for the cartridges. Maybe I misunderstood.
They're so early and it's so speculative. I'm sure there's bits of information that are missing.
Yeah. Well, when you start to get into numbers like that, like numbers get thrown around and then misinterpreted and passed along wrong, those are easier to get wrong than just like the fact that, it's going to be both a portable and a standalone at the same time. Like I trust that that's probably in the works.
Yeah, agreed.
It sounds,
You don't think so, huh?
No, I actually think it is. I think it totally makes sense. I mean, if they're going to, I guess the bigger question though is, are they going to actively solicit third-party games in a manner that they'll have equal representation across all three consoles? So if IDOS or whatever, whoever owns Crystal Day, whoever owns the Rise of the Tomb Raider franchise now, they can just make a game and they can port it out to all three. But if they go with first,
that's why I mentioned the Tegra and the graphical possibilities and the fact that it's not a PC architecture. I think that could be a problem for. Well, if it's powerful enough, they could do it. But if it's a Tegra, that seems difficult.
I mean, really, that also boils down to the tools. I mean,
well, that was the problem. That was the problem with the Wii U. It was the exact problem. Maybe I should have mentioned it, but the exact problem. Well, one of the contributing factors to lack of third-party support was different architecture and less powerful platform, and that led to.
I don't buy the architecture so much, since there were. There were games on both the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and they have vastly different architectures in terms of developing. I mean, it's why they work so hard to port all the when they re-released all the. God, I'm really having a brain fart today. What's the Uncharted series for release on PS4? I mean, they had to recode.
Yeah, well, so that it's a different time though. Nowadays, the Xbox, PS4, and PC obviously have PC architectures. So the cost of porting games to a different platform is marginal, and doing it on a completely different platform needs to be justified by the install base, and it's the eternal vicious circle. With the Wii U, it wasn't justified because the install base was too small, which meant the install base wasn't growing because there weren't the games, etc., etc. And now for a portable, even though I strongly believe this is a great way to go for Nintendo, they do have the competition of the phones. So between that, the portable aspect and the home console, they could end up doing two things half-ass and trying to do both. I'm not saying it would, but
yeah.
Or you could just see a lot of Android games show up on that console. Oh, look, it's a Nintendo version of, I don't know, what's a popular Android game?
Clash Royale.
Which, as I was saying, wouldn't help them at all because people already have phones. So.
Yeah.
But you can't play your phone on your TV that easily.
Well, if people wanted to play phone games on their TVs, the Apple TV would be selling better than it is.
Good point. Although, it doesn't.
I would disagree with that too. The Apple TV isn't really designed for that role. I mean, it's just
the new Apple TV is. They have a controller for it and everything, and they have a huge section in the App Store that's like pushing games.
Yeah, but that's the latest iteration of what has been up until now.
But I think that's what Patrick's saying is this new Apple TV would be selling better.
Yeah, it's a hard road to
Ho.
hoe.
Yeah.
Road to hoe.
Road,
Well,
not road. Don't hoe the
Roger.
road, or it'll be hard to drive on.
I have spent my entire afternoon being reasonable. So now I'm going to tell you,
Yes!
you are wrong.
Let it off the
Absolutely
leash,
wrong.
Patrick.
You know what?
100%, Roger. You don't know what you're talking about. Wait, how
That
how
makes
can I
for an
call you?
exciting show, Patrick.
Yeah.
I know. I have to find a nickname though. Sleepy Roger. I don't know.
Wait, Sleepy Roger. Wait,
I don't
like
know.
us?
Changry is
You
good.
mean as a slur against me?
Yes, that's what I'm trying
Sleepy
to
Roger.
get for, to go for. It's not very slurry.
I could come up with 5, and they're all incredibly lewd. Just so we're doing Nintendo blows off the dust from game cartridges.
Yes, I already put it in. I think
Got
that works great. I like it.
It'll be fun when it comes out, and then we'll see.
You can give some shout-outs to other titles if you had any others you loved. I always like to give the credit.
Oh, great! I just closed the window.
Well, never
I
mind.
already put it in. Also, that's what he said.
Nintendo can't just phone it in.
Oh my gosh, I finally did a thing that Scott Johnson had been telling me to do, and it's amazing.
What are you doing?
So what I've been doing is uploading the file in SoundCloud by choosing and browsing. Apparently you can just drag the file into the upload screen, and it will not only upload it, but it will take the ID3 tags and pre-populate your form.
Oh, you haven't done that? I've only done it
No.
twice, so I don't know. I would know. The only reason I know is because Scott, I think, told me how to do it.
Yeah, he told me a long time ago, and I've just been putting off. I'm like, no, I know. I'm stuck in my ways.
$300 million peanuts. I would love to have those peanuts, Patrick. $300 million. Even if I sold them at like 25 cents on the dollar, I would still be what?
$25
my math is.
$million?
Let me just use a
I think it's
calculator.
75. It's $75 million. I'm telling you.
That's good. That's good.
That's not bad. However, I am a strong believer of the fact that you can't buy happiness.
That's because of
You're
the
wrong,
EU
Patrick.
trade
You're wrong.
regulations.
That's the
It is
mindset.
well known that NAFTA
Because
prevents
of
the
your
purchase
import
of
restrictions
happiness.
on happiness. That's why. Everyone in the chat room is making fun of me.
What? Why would anyone
Welcome
ever
to
do
the future. Drag and drop.
that? Well, okay, that is actually warranted.
Oh, I know. I don't trust drag and drop. Command line forever.
Your happy bash is coming to Windows.
I barely want to use the mouse. Arr. I don't understand why when I actually choose to browse and upload the ID3 or the MP3, why it doesn't also put the album art and the tags and everything. Like, that just seems wrong.
I think I might need to go because I'm tired.
Okay.
We're almost done. You can go. No problem. Thanks for being on the show.
It is, as always, my greatest pleasure. And, Roger, do you remember I'm off for the next 2 weeks?
For the following,
Hello?
yes. Hold on. Let me see.
Is
Oh, yeah.
everyone...
Yes, those are filled
you're
with
back.
people that will fill in your spot.
Okay, cool. You just froze like for 10 seconds when I
Oh,
said
I
that.
had to pull up the. I had to pull up the calendar.
Okay.
It was a long calendar pull.
All right, cool. Then I can go rest with the knowledge that things will be in good hands.
So, yeah, we won't see you next week. Have a good vacation.
Next week or the week after.
Right.
Actually.
Lamar
I'm gonna-
Wilson and I, as Akhtar, will be trying to fill in your shoes.
I'm sure they will do an awesome job.
I'm sure they will.
Positively wonderful job. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks,
Talk to
Patrick.
you soon. Bye.
Bye. And we're out of here, too. Thank you, Roger. Thank you,
Thank
everybody,
you.
for watching. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.